this is my April reading wrap up. I read 8 books in the month of April, and the lighting is horrible. It is so overcast, but here we are. The books that I read are all over the map. There's a lot of Litfic, there's some books in translation, there's one book that's just in French, and I read the new Hunger Games. I'm excited to talk to you about all of them. One of them, honestly, actually a couple of them, I'm not even sure what my full opinion is yet, so hopefully I work it out through this. And yeah, we'll see, I guess. Let's get into it. Detransition Baby by Tori Peters is incredible. Better than I remember. I read this book when it came out, and I remember really liking it, but I loved it this time around. It is so messy, so complicated. Tori Peters writes about really like messy queer people in a way that is just beautiful to see. It's just, they're so queer, they're so weird, and they're flawed in the like most beautiful way. It talks about a really complex set of characters that are all linked through relationships, past relationships, and parenthood, and their desire for parenthood, and to like queer the family dynamic. Just really amazing writing. This Tori Peters writes in a way that it just sort of like settles and feels really smooth and flows so nicely that you kind of don't realize it's incredible, if that makes sense. I read Stag Dance last month and I just loved it so, so much. And so I really wanted to pick this up and see how I felt about it now. And I love it. This was a book that I wanted to reread also because when people talk about trans books, they always talk about this one. It's like one of the only titles that anyone ever talks about. And it is really that good. So I get it. And obviously I liked it the first time I read it, but I mean, I didn't know. I've read so many books since I read this the first time that are trans books or written by trans authors that I think deserve a time, like the time in the spotlight. But I get why this has so much attention because it does it so, so well. Hunchback by Sao Ichikawa, translated by Polly Barton, is such a freaky little novel. I think it's just over 100 pages. My friend Martha from Martha's Monthly on Substack did an interview with the author, and it made me want to read this book so quick. Like, it went straight to the top of my TBR. It is so weird, and I've had conversations with Martha about it since reading it, and it's one of the books that I'm having a hard time like wrapping my entire brain around how I feel about it. Essentially, it's about a woman who has a disability, or a woman who is disabled, and she doesn't have a lot of mobility. She has a congenital muscle disorder. And so people see her and they see her disability. And there's a lot of discussion of that in here. It's about sex and desire from this person. She also like writes erotica and tweets like really wild things. And it's about like defying expectation. And it's about like this rich inner world that she has that she externalizes in a really specific way. It's also about her obsession with pregnancy and abortion, which was so fascinating to me. That's the through line that like really stuck with me. And I like understood it, and it like really resonated with me of like this desire to, it felt really queer, honestly, this desire to like claim your stake on personhood by being able to do this thing that society expects of all people, which is like to procreate. And just, yeah, really well done, but just so strange. And I think it like a lot of people are saying that it has like sort of shock value and it's like weird for the sake of being weird. And I just don't know if I agree with that. Like, there's oral sex in here that I think a lot of people were like shocked by, but I was just like, well, yeah, like go off. I don't know. It was really good. And it was really short. And I'm really excited to see where this author goes next if she writes another book. But yeah, really, really strange, but really fun. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins is a Hunger Games novel. It's a prequel. And I read it because I needed to know. I needed to know if I could read outside of my preferred genres and still sort of feel good. Listen, this is a specific kind of YA that I don't relate to anymore and that I don't enjoy anymore. I've read YA in the last couple of years that is different from this and still like I really enjoyed and I resonated with. There's something about the way this is written that is so like 2008 dystopian YA that that's because that's what it is, and that's fine, and it's a personal preference. Like, it just didn't work for me. I read this and I enjoyed it because of nostalgia's sake. I don't think it's the kind of book that was made for me anymore, which is fine. I think it's like there's a lot of repetition, which again is the YA thing. There are parts of it that are so slow, and then all of the action is condensed into like 3-4 chapters, and I was just like, I had whiplash. Overall, I'm excited to see the movie. I'll say that. Like, it was just fun. I don't know. It doesn't have to be that serious, and I don't have to have loved it. It's fine if I didn't. And yeah, it just like wasn't for me, and that's okay. Scaffolding by Lauren Elkin is a book that is split into 2 parts. The first is about a woman who has just lost a child, and it's modern day, and it's just her experience of like what that is like and how she feels about her partner now. And there's like incredible distance there, both physical and just emotional. And then the second part is about a couple that lives there, but 40 years in the past. And so it's the same apartment, and both their stories sort of like mirror each other, but also are kind of opposites in different ways. It's really, really fascinating. It's really Parisian. There's something about it that is so French, because it's also set in Paris, and I really enjoyed that. The book itself dives really deeply into their psyche and to their emotions and to what they're thinking and feeling, and it like sort of feels drab in that way, but still managed to like really grip me. And this exploration of parenthood and identity wrapped up into parenthood and the desire to have children, all of that just like really worked for me. Um, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know. A lot of people have not liked it because it felt sort of heady and academic, which I can see, because there's a lot of psychoanalysis and that sort of stuff. But like, for some reason, it really worked for me. I don't know. There's something about this. It just like was speaking to the right parts of me at the right time. And so I liked it a lot. On a Woman's Madness by Astrid Romer, translated by Lucy Scott, is a queer Black classic from the 1980s. Also a title from the Booker Prize International Longlist this year. And I wanted to love it. I really wanted to love it, but I didn't. It is about a woman. It's a coming of age of a girl living in a small town who like moves to the capital city in the country in South America where she lives. And it's like told in a really disjointed way. It's really scattered, really messy. And sometimes that really works for me. And this time it just didn't. Talks about her childhood. It goes from like one thing to the next. And you sort of understand the reasons for her decisions and why she's going through the things that she's going through. But the big bad, like what caused all of this, is never on the page. Like you never get this thing that happens with her husband that makes her leave. You never get this like thing that happens with her family when she's young. It's never explored explicitly on the page, and I think it was sort of a miss for me because of that. Like it's too scattered and too unpin downable, and there's just it just like something about it didn't quite click, and I understood the reasons that it is like that. It like wants to defy expectations as the book, and the character wants to defy expectations, so it sort of fits, but something about it just like falls a tiny bit flat for me. Like in the end I did not leave satisfied. Yeah, complicated feelings. I also read this alongside Martha from Martha's Monthly on Substack, and Billy, who's also on Substack. And I don't know that we all liked it, and that's okay. It's okay to read a book that doesn't quite work for you. It's fine. I'm just sad because I wanted it to work so bad. It was close. It just not quite right. The Vegetarian by Hen Kong, translated by Deborah Smith, is my second book in my year with Hong Kong, which I'm doing this year. It took me a long time to get to the second one, but I really love this. Like a lot of people sing its praises, and I get it. It is so good. It's freaky. It's so strange. It does really interesting things. It's sort of edgy. It's basically about this woman who decides to become a vegetarian, and that decision and her sort of descent into this major change that's happening within her, both literally and metaphorically, um, causes a ripple effect through her family. And the book is split into 3 sections, and each are told from different perspectives of people around her. And you're sort of like, as the reader, influenced by what those people think in how you're like taking in her story. Um, so interesting, so weird. The way that it talks about nature versus technology in the modern world, the way that it talks about nature and the natural world is really cool. I don't know, I'm trying not to give too much away, but fascinating also in the way that it talks about agency and decision and obsession and making, like, staking a claim on your own life and decisions and what you want to do. But then also the opposite effect, which is like people wanting to exert control on another person. Patriarchy. Yeah, just really interesting and really good. I'm excited to read my next Hong Kong, which is I believe the Human Acts or the Human Rights, the Human Acts. Anyways, I'll put it right here, but I'm excited to read the next one because this one was so freaky deaky and I really, really enjoyed it. La colline qui travaille by Philippe Manvie is a book in French and it does not have an English translation. I finished this yesterday. I rented it from the library. I will bring it back today. It's hard to say something without crying for this book, which is really crazy. I think on a personal level, this book really affected me. I know this book affected me on a personal level. Basically, let me just tell you what it's about. It is sort of memoir, sort of autofiction, and I'm not convinced I won't cry. And it talks about a man who lives in Montreal, who's from France, Lyon specifically in France, and it is him. It's an investigation of the self through the people that have come before him, like the past generation. So it's 4 generations of people who lived in France, in Lyon. And he talks about them in such an honest and beautiful way. There's so much curiosity about who they were as people and not this idea of them. And so it's really real. Like even the bad parts are exposed. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Okay, hi, I am coming to you from the editing bay. This entire clip is just impossible to use. Basically, to give you a long story short, this is a writer from Montreal whose family is from Lyon, writing about his family, his lineage, whatever. I am a writer from living in Montreal from Lyon, whose family is from there, who has generations that live there, and so this really did affect me in a huge way. I think it's really well written, regardless of that. I just think it's impossible for me to be objective about this book, because as I was reading it, like I was picturing the street where my mother grew up, the smell of the apartment that we moved my grandmother out of when she went into a care home, like pictures I've seen of my great grandparents like running through the streets. It was just like so loud, which I think is great. Like I love that this did that for me. So yeah, instead of showing you me just rambling about literally nothing, this is what you get. So yeah, back to the studio. Anyways, I love this book. Nova Scotia House by Charlie Porter was fantastic. This is it's a novel about love. It's a novel about queer community. It's a novel about finding the people that make you feel like yourself, but also looking for yourself. It's also about AIDS and the AIDS crisis and survivor's guilt, and just like queerness and what it means and queer magic. There's so much in here. I really, really loved it. I felt so held. But also I've never read something that did this specific thing. And so I'm like just so impressed. I loved it so much. It's written in a way that at first I was like, oh, I'm not sure I'm gonna like this. It's sort of detached, sort of cold, the narration. And then at some point, like 50 pages in, it really clicks into place and I couldn't put it down. I felt so just taken by this story. Um, and it's beautiful and it's touching and it's heartbreaking. The way that it talks about like intergenerational relationships, platonic or romantic, just it's so good. Yeah, I'm excited to read more from Charlie Porter. I know that he has another book coming called Queer Magic. Um, so excited to see what that is. I love this, and thank you, Charlie, for writing it, for also for sending it to me, but for writing it. Just so beautiful and touching, and I will think about this for a really, really long time. And I already am excited to reread it. I've read nothing like this before because of the style choice, but also this story. Just so, so well done. Those are the 8 books that I read in the month of April. I would love to know what you read and loved in the month of April. I don't know that I really set myself up for success for spring because a lot of these were really sad and heart-wrenching. But I mean, when do I ever read anything happy? It's just, that's not really what I do. Yeah, I loved a lot of these books now that I'm looking at them and thinking about them. Incredible reading month. So yeah, I would love to know what you read and loved. So please let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.